States, there is no place like Columbus, Ohio, the historic home of 2-0. Fittingly enough, the U.S. won their last home qualifier 2-0 over Jamaica, but the joy of that win evaporating Sunday in the heat of Panama. And so tonight, the United States look to regain control of their World Cup destiny against an old and familiar foe in Costa Rica. ESPN's coverage of U.S. soccer is presented by Volkswagen. And tonight, that coverage brings us to the capital city of Ohio and a sold-out Lower.com field for a critical CONCACAF World Cup qualifier between the United States and Costa Rica. We are 5 games into this 14-match qualifying grind, and how quickly things can change. The U.S. left Austin last Thursday atop the table after that win over Jamaica, but Sunday's 1-0 loss in Panama dropped the Americans into a tie for second place. Costa Rica, on the other hand, a huge 2-1 home win Sunday over El Salvador. Welcome to Columbus alongside Casey Keller, Jermaine Jones. I'm Sebastian Salazar. John Champion and Taylor Twellman will bring you the call of tonight's match. You'll hear from them in just a moment. Our sideline reporter, Sam Borden, you'll hear from him shortly as well. But to put this game into proper context, guys, we got to look back to the game against Panama. Jermaine, what did you think of the performance from the U.S.?
I think it was not good at all. If you look at it, it was like 0 shots on goal. Like, it's something where if you look like and you play a game 90 minutes and you have not 1 shot on goal, it's embarrassing, and you have to point that out. And I think it was pointed out because you saw straight away a change on players today, and I hope that we can see a different face of this team.
Yeah, the whole idea of making 7 changes was to have fresh legs to run and to cause problems in Panama. It just didn't materialize for whatever reason. A lot of changes tonight. Back to more what we saw against Jamaica. Can we have the same result that we saw against Jamaica? That's the big question.
You mentioned the 7 changes for the game in Panama. How about 9 changes from that game to tonight's starting lineup? And perhaps no decision bigger than what Greg Berhalter has done at the back, going with Zach Steffen over Matt Turner, who had started the first 5 games of this qualifying campaign. The back 4, Serginho Dest, Miles Robinson, Chris Richards handed his first competitive start, and Anthony Robinson. The midfield 3, the same that we saw in Austin against Jamaica, McKennie, Adams, and Yunus Musa. And up top, Paul Arriola, Ricardo Pepi, and Brendan Aronson. How about the man who chose this 11, Greg Berhalter, moments ago with our Sam Borden.
Greg, after a disappointing performance down in Panama, what needs to be different tonight?
Well, I think it's just that. You know, we have a chance now, a couple of days later, to play better and you know, correct those wrongs. So for us, it's about much more movement, much more aggressiveness, much more intensity than we showed on Sunday night in Panama. 9
changes to the lineup, including 1 at goalkeeper. What went into the decision there?
You know, Zach's a big part of this program. We think it's the right time to get him involved, and we know moving forward we're going to need goalkeepers having this experience. So Zach's going to be fine tonight.
One last thing, Weston back in the lineup. Any issues health-wise, any limitations?
Weston's good to go.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Weston McKennie then good to go, in the words of Greg Berhalter. But very much tonight, the story in goal, Zach Steffen. Casey, you've been a part of a goalie controversy. When you see this move, was it the right call from the coach?
Well, we're going to find out when the result happens, but in the end...
Either way, it's a risk, right?
It's a gamble. It's definitely a gamble for Berhalter because Matt Turner's come in and done a fantastic job. I think if you went back a year ago, nobody thought there was going to be really any competition for positions, that it was going to be Zach Steffen's all the way. Well, Turner's come in and shown that he deserves to be playing. And that combines with Zach Steffen not playing for his club side. So it'll be interesting tonight to see how a player in Zach Steffen, who's barely played in the last several months, how he can react so quickly being thrown in when the guy you're replacing has done a very good job.
And to that point, Jermaine, Chris Richards starting in front of him. So some inexperience on that front on the back line in front of Zach Steffen.
Yeah, you know, I think Casey said it correctly. It's like if you have a goalkeeper who's not really playing in club like week for week, it's tough, you know, and then especially throwing him out here where it's like a must-win now. Everybody has his eyes actually on him. you know, then you have a guy in front of him who starts his first game today too. It's like, you know, and we will see. But you know, at the end, it's Craig Berhalter's decision, and he's the coach, and at the end, he has to take the blame, or if everything goes right, he takes the win.
U.S. would love to keep a clean sheet tonight, but they're going to have to generate more offense than they did down in Panama. Jermaine, 0 shots on goal, as you mentioned, in Panama City. What has to happen for the American attack tonight to be more dangerous?
I think it's like, if you see both teams, the Costa Rica team is a little bit older team. We have to go forward. We have to use the space, you know, attack the space forward. Exactly what we did against Jamaica. Against Panama, we don't do it, and that's why we came out with not a win and we lost the game over there. But if we do the same stuff what we did against Jamaica, using the space, going forward, and being aggressive in the box, you will score goals.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Be aggressive. These are the kind of positions you get ball in the final third. Take a player on. Try to make something happen. It's too easy just to step on it and pass the ball and go backwards. We saw against Jamaica when they were aggressive, taking players on, they caused problems. But then we saw also in the first 2 matches of this qualifying campaign, going backwards and sideways isn't going to score you a lot of goals.
3 huge points on the line for both the United States and Costa Rica here at lower.com field. When we return, we'll turn our attention to the visitors, fresh off a big win against El Salvador. A full look at their lineup when we return to Columbus.
Look at the faces, look in the eyes. You can see the tension of a home qualifier. 90 minutes of truth await.
Costa Rica have the lead. It's a hammer blow for the USA.
Everything has gone wrong for the United States tonight.
The rain is in here. Costa Rica too, and the USA in shreds tonight.
It may not be burned in everyone's minds quite like the loss in Cuba, but that defeat 4 years ago against Costa Rica in New Jersey, just as big a part of the story of the United States missing the last World Cup. These 2 teams have met plenty in World Cup qualifiers, but frankly, it's a series that at least recently has been dominated by Costa Rica. They've won 5 of the last 7 World Cup qualifiers, and they've won the last 3 on the trot. However, things have not been easy for them, at least getting here tonight. For more on that, we send it to the sideline and our reporter, Sam Borden.
Sebi, thank you very much. Good evening. As you guys have been saying, Costa Rica's been a thorn for the U.S. in World Cup qualifying for quite a while, but there are some problems getting here, literally the first of them. The Costa Rican team was supposed to arrive here early Monday evening, but weather kept their charter flight grounded in San Jose for more than 4 hours. They didn't get here until nearly 2 in the morning on Tuesday. Not great, obviously, from a rest and recovery perspective. Also, a couple of key players missing. Joel Campbell, a top forward, is not here. An ankle injury keeps him out. Also, Jose Guillermo Ortiz, another forward, COVID positive and did not travel. To fill in, Costa Rica's turned to some old reliables. Christian Bolaños, 37 years old, and of course, Alvaro Saborío, 39. These are the guys that are now in with the Ticos as they try to take 3 points from the U.S. here tonight. Back to you guys.
Costa Rica, then the old heads, as the U.S. puts out its youngest ever World Cup qualifying lineup. Here's the Tico 11 under the Colombian manager Luis Fernando Suarez, who took Ecuador to the World Cup knockout rounds back in 2006. Costa Rica, of course, stopped by one of the best goalies, not just in CONCACAF, in the world, Keylor Navas, but some significant absences, as Sam mentioned, between Jose Ortiz and Joel Campbell. Casey, what do you think the Costa Rican approach will be tonight here in Columbus?
That'll be a good question. I mean, Jermaine and I were talking about it, and part of it is Jermaine thinks that maybe they'll see a weakness because the U.S. is coming off a loss. I think because of how the games they've had to play recently, they'll be maybe, I feel, a little more conservative and maybe see if they can frustrate the U.S. early and then let those cool heads of theirs from all the experience take over.
Yeah. I think it's pretty simple. If you look at the team has a lot of experience. So they've been to these situations a couple times. So, and they're coming down here and they know. They're looking at this team, the young team of America, and saying, like, they're coming out of a loss in Panama. They have to win here. Let's see what they're doing. Let's see what the fans doing, how they react if it's not coming their way. And then we maybe can punish them at one with a goal. So I don't see Costa Rica scared, and the numbers don't lie either. So why should they sit back here and be scared?
Shall we bring in the gentlemen who will be calling tonight's match, John Champion and Taylor Dwellman. They join us from the broadcast booth. Guys, it's difficult really to overstate just how huge the 3 points are tonight for both the U.S. and Costa Rica.
Yeah, Seb, and we've been struck by the discussions of you gents down at the desk talking about what needs to be done. But I wonder, Taylor, what do the U.S. need to avoid doing tonight?
I'm going to show you a couple instances from both the Panama and the Canada game. And first off, when you watch the Panama game, for so many fans at home, it felt like the United States was going through the motions. But more importantly, they weren't recognizing the challenge and the spaces that they had where they could have exposed Panama. Panama was not coming out on the front foot and putting them under pressure. They had time and space to exploit them. Yet the United States didn't want to do that. They were scared, they were lethargic, and they didn't really want to meet the challenge head on. It was sloppy and it was methodical. But then the real concern is Costa Rica, an experienced team that wants to defend first. We got a glimpse of this in Nashville against Canada. You've got to be a little bit quicker. You've got to be urgent. It's one thing to have possession. It's another thing to have possession with a purpose. And this one clip here is a good example of how the United States tonight against Costa Rica can exploit space, take some risks, deliver balls between the lines, but then be direct with your movement and your decision making and put this old experienced side from Costa Rica on their heels. First 25, 30 minutes is the most important of this game. If you get the crowd behind you, you get an early goal, something they haven't done in the last 8 games. Get a goal in the first half, put the old team on their heels, then it could be a good night. If not, I think that experienced, savvy side from Costa Rica is going to relish the anxiety coming into this building.
And of course, the other factor tonight, I'm just intrigued to see what this building is like. It's its international christening tonight. Famous city, synonymous with US men World Cup qualification cycles, but an entirely new venue.
And exactly where that anxiety level is, which is why I tell you that first 15, 20 minutes, the United States, young, inexperienced, they need the crowd behind them. John, I think you hit the nail on the head. The longer this game goes, it favors Costa Rica because this crowd's going to be very anxious with where they are in World Cup qualifying.
Okay, well, I'm sure you are, but we certainly are very much looking forward to this. Taylor's getting extremely excited. He's munching his red wines absolutely furiously. That's always a telltale sign. We're, what, 15 minutes away?
The crowd here in Columbus, no anxiety yet, but let's give them half a trying to score against Keylor Navas, see where those nerves are. Our build-up to kickoff continues here in Columbus. The United States and Costa Rica coming up. Massive CONCACAF World Cup qualifier in just a few moments. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, with you for every mile on the road to greatness. Goodyear, more driven. The scenes from on high in Columbus, Ohio, as we get set for a U.S.-Costa Rica World Cup qualifier. We got some breaking news just handed down. Tim Weah has been inserted into the starting lineup for the United States. He will replace Paul Arriola, who we're told picked up an injury during the warm-ups. When we return, teams in the tunnel and the final countdown to kickoff. U.S., Costa Rica, moments away from Columbus.
Strikes again.
Welcome back to Columbus, Ohio, where the intensity and perhaps anxiety is building ahead of a crucial World Cup qualifying match for the United States men's national team. It's the United States versus Costa Rica. Let's head upstairs for the gentleman who will be calling tonight's match, John Champion and Taylor Twellman.
If any one US city has become synonymous down the years with the World Cup qualification process, it surely is Columbus, Ohio. So many peaks, just the occasional trough, moments of triumph and of torment too. And now the international christening of a brand new sporting theatre in which future dramas will be played out. First up, it's what is surely a need-to-win qualifier against those troublesome old foes from Costa Rica. 41st meeting. It is the 21st time that it has been framed as a World Cup qualifier. And whilst the US have the lead in overall confrontations, 18 wins to 16, Costa Rica have won nearly twice as many of the World Cup qualifiers as their US counterparts. Jamaican referee Damian Parchment leads out the players of the United States and Costa Rica as Lower.com Field, Columbus, Ohio, stages a big-time international for the very first time. It's a night when home comforts will be important, a night when lingering memories of Red Bull Arena in 2016 can finally be laid to rest, an occasion when partisanship should be a help and not a hindrance.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing and welcome Josh Kaufman to perform the Star-Spangled Banner. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare
tonight, 20,000 strong, the majority bearing the red, white and blue, and hoping for a memorable evening for the right reasons this time. The immediate future is trying to qualify for the World Cup in November of 2022. And there was a critical edge to this evening after the traumas in Panama. Greg Berhalter insisting there's only one aim in all of this, that's to qualify for 2022. By that reasoning, that defeat in Panama, just a bump on the road wherever other people may see it as a deep pothole. A dramatic late change in the lineup tonight. Paul Arriola injured, Timothy Weah in. 7 changes in Panama. This, though, very similar to the side that took on Jamaica.
Zach Steffen only 2 games in the last 4 months. How comfortable are Miles Robinson and Chris Richards together if Dest and Anthony Robinson want to bomb forward and support Timothy Weah and Brendan Aronson in wide areas? It's important with Costa Rica defending in such a deep position that Ricardo Pepi gets some real support going forward. And yet there's 2 real interesting trends for Greg Berhalter in the United States. In the last 8 games, they haven't scored a goal in the first half. And more importantly, the standard by which excellence is determined more often than not in highly competitive environments is in the last 10 competitive games, the United States under Greg Berhalter, only 7 yellow cards. Are they up to the physical challenge, the mental challenge against a much more experienced side in Costa Rica tonight?
Costa Rica are guided by Luis Fernandez Suarez, who's previously led Ecuador and Honduras to World Cups. Amidst much discontent, he's going with experience. 6 players over the age of 30 in this starting 11. Navas, Borges and Ruiz, all Taylor of pensionable status.
And Navas is a world-class goalkeeper, a big reason why Costa Rica is in the position they are in. The strength of this team right through the middle. Calvo, Duarte, Tejeda, Borges, very compact defensively, very smart with their positioning, while Moya is vital for Costa Rica tonight in making sure that he's the reference point to get them out of pressure. They haven't scored a ton of goals in World Cup qualifying, but if they can absorb the pressure, then they can then put some real question marks to a young, inexperienced back line for the United States.
Real contrast in terms of philosophy, age profile and general experience between these 2 sides. The man in charge this evening, without how important a factor that can be, last week in the game against Jamaica. Tonight it's a PE teacher from Jamaica. It's a first World Cup qualifier for Danian Parchment. But he is much more experienced than the official from Grenada, whose rawness was exposed in Austin last week. Splendid sight, $314 million worth of prime sporting real estate taking over from the much-loved Mafre Stadium 4 miles to the north. Tonight, the oldest American player, Zach Steffen, is younger than the youngest of America's Costa Rican opponents. And it is the US in the predominantly red and the blue who get us underway, needing to put behind them the sharp and sad memories of Panama 3 days ago, since when they've been on an aeroplane for 6.5 hours, travelled 2,500 miles, had a chance to shake that from their legs on this pitch at training last night. And now, Taylor, simply have to produce.
Yeah, most importantly, they're going to have to match the physical intensity. We saw that from Greg Berhalter's side in Austin, Texas, against Jamaica in the first 35-40 minutes. They were up to the challenge. They made life very difficult for Jamaica. Can they do the exact opposite of what they did against Panama Sunday night?
Well, out comes Zach Steffen. His first serious involvement is to come out and actually head the ball rather than handle it. And here comes Matarrita for Costa Rica. And arriving is Fuller, who scored! Exactly 1 minute in, Keisha Fuller, the surprise inclusion, with a blow to the jaw of the United States. Now, the assistant referee has come onto the pitch on the far side. There is a question mark over this. Danian Parchment has gone across to see Stephanie Dale-Yee-Sing at the assistance of Tyler Adams, the US captain. Meanwhile, Costa Rica celebrate. Yellow card is coming out of the referee's pocket, but the goal stands. Keisha Fuller has scored and the US are in early bother.
Well, and there was a big question mark for Costa Rica, whether or not they would sit in, play with 5 in the back and absorb the pressure from the United States, and yet that's the exact opposite of by which they've come out and absolutely punched the United States right in the mouth. Now, the question mark here is the Costa Rican attacking player in the line of sight of Zach Steffen, and he's not, because out of your picture, Serginho Dest is on the end line from where the ball originally came from, so that player right there is not in an offside position. Good no call from the assistant referee.
Well, this is supposed to be all about expunging bad memories from 2016 and previous games against Costa Rica. It is a nightmare of a start for the United States. First serious breakaway. Steffen repelled the first threat with his head, but was helpless when Keisha Fuller arrived beyond the far post to score just his second international goal, exactly 60 seconds in. What does that do to the game plan?
Well, now you're going to ask a lot of questions about an inexperienced team, of whether or not you can deal with the adversity, but more importantly, the anxiety that exists in this building. You could feel it before kickoff that the first 15-20 minutes was going to be so important for the youngest team ever for the United States in a World Cup qualifier. And the last thing you wanted to do is to give up an early goal. And they've done that. Now, how do they react over the next 5 to 10 minutes? Going to have a huge impact on whether or not they're going to have a say in this game.
First time in 23 years that the US have conceded a first-minute goal. Last time was in a friendly against the Dutch when Ronald de Boer inscribed his name on the score sheet in double quick time. Stakes are much higher this evening. The CONCACAF qualifying process is relatively forgiving. You can't expect to take too many liberties. Anything other than a home victory for the US men's national team tonight would be seen as one of those liberties. Adams driving it, looking in for Ware. Quite the moment for Keisha Fuller, whose inclusion tonight has been heavily criticised back in Costa Rica. Coach has come in for a lot of flack for the way that he sets the team up, the way he relies on veterans. He puts square pegs in round holes, and Fuller is a right back normally, who's playing on the right wing. Serginho Dest, as the US try to settle themselves. Miles Robinson. So a very harsh introduction to competitive international football for Chris Richards, conceding a goal just a minute into his competitive debut. Costa Rica came from behind to beat El Salvador at the weekend, and now the US are charged with attempting to repeat the feat against Costa Rica. Here's Dest. Now Ware. You joined us late for the injured Paul Areola, who tweaked something in the warm-up before the game. McKennie. Musa. Dest. Dest with that spirit of adventure that's now familiar. Ware in towards Aronson. Dest keeping it alive for Adams. And now it's Richards to McKennie. The crowd starting to get behind the US. First sustained period in the opposition half. Miles Roberts, Yunus Musa.
to be very interesting to watch the relationship between Dest and Weah, because oftentimes they want to operate in the same space, and Dest has the freedom to go forward. So Weah's got to be very smart with the positions he picks up in the spots to allow Dest the freedom to go forward, to combine, and to overload this right side. You want to try your best to force Brian Ruiz of Costa Rica to defend a little bit more than he wants to, and in order to do so, that's going to put the onus on Dest, pushing the tempo and trying to get him and Weah combining down the right side of the United States.
This is Weston McKennie. Tracking back was Celso Borges, as he has for the last 16 and a half years, the cause of his national team. Moya, just to tidy up one issue in the wake of the goal. No yellow card was actually issued, even though it did appear from the referee's pocket at one stage. It wasn't brandished at anyone. It didn't look like Tyler Adams was going to be booked. To confirm, he wasn't. Brian Ruiz, now 36. Fuller.
Well, I don't go back to that goal, John, because it's very interesting, as Zach Steffen and Tyler Adams were arguing whether or not the Costa Rican player was in an offside position. But look at the right of your screen. Serginho Dest comes off the field of play. I want to bring in Mark Clattenburg. Mark, my question is this. If Serginho Dest is off the field of play or close to the line, does that keep the Costa Rican player onside?
Yeah, you've got that spot on, Taylor. What he does is, as he's gone off the field to play accidentally because of natural play, he's deemed to be on the goal line, and therefore what an outstanding decision from the assistant referee to see that and see the player that's potentially in an offside position, but he's clearly being played on by the defender who's on the goal line, acting on the goal line, even though he's off the field of play.
Thank you, Mark. The man who refereed the final of Euro 2016. Time Premier League official, one of the world's top refs when he was active. Now a very welcome part of our broadcast team. Pepe. McKennie. Venegas looking for Fuller. He's having quite the time of it out there, Keisha Fuller.
Well, he's coming off one of the more awful appearances recently in World Cup qualifying, where he's heavily criticized. So it's a little bit of a surprise when you and I saw Fuller in the lineup, because he's more of a fullback, a defensive fullback, and yet now he's kind of in this free role where he can sit in front of Blanco, he can pick and choose his moments. Well, my word, he picked the right moment to score a goal.
Aronson. It's never a wrong moment, Taylor, is there?
No, that's a good point. It is for the United States.
Where? Dest. Adams. McKennie. Poor ball by Weston McKennie. It didn't give Anthony Robinson a chance. Front foot start by the US. It's Costa Rica who've got that. Blanco.
I think as Costa Rica grows into this game and settles into their defensive shape, John, it's going to be vital that Chris Richards, Miles Robinson are very comfortable in 2v2 spots with Tyler Adams sitting in front of them, to give some real freedom to Dest and Anthony Robinson to get forward, create some 2v1s in wide areas, and try to expose this back line of Costa Rica that isn't going to move much. They're going to sit in front of that 18-yard box and be very compact, but try to get some angles where you can get to the end line and deliver some dangerous balls in behind.
Musa. No time to dally in there tonight. in. Here's Ware. Four waiting. Dest, though, was very tightly marked as soon as he received the ball. The tackle was on the point of arriving.
Fantastic combination play here from Dest and Weah. Look at the good understanding. Instead of overlapping, because Weah's got the outside, Dest comes inside and allows that 1v1 moment for Timothy Weah to get in behind. That's the understanding that Greg Berhalter and the United States need down that right side. And again, that only comes because you've got yourself a Tyler Adams and a number 6 that will put out fires and clean it up. So if you're Dest, if you're Anthony Robinson, take some risk going forward and try to combine with the winger in front of you.
This is Anthony Robinson. Richards. Deflection sent Pepe scurrying the wrong way in the end. Tejeda. Adams. Aronson. Pepe. Is this better? It's McKennie. Clear chance. Thwarted. It's only a corner. It might have been much more.
Yeah, but the one thing going up against older, experienced legs is quick movement, quick combinations. 1-2s in and around them. Get your midfielders coming out of the midfield, acting as that third or fourth attacker, something Weston McKennie does very well.
First corner of the night for the United States. Aronson. Borges. Dest. Tyler Adams. Brendan Aronson. Foul and a free kick.
It's going to be very important for Brendan Aronson that he uses the runs off the ball to try to use this space, because it's going to be so congested of trying to dribble through the traffic of the Costa Rican defense. Use McKennie, use Anthony Robinson, and use that pace, that high pace that he runs for 90 minutes to his advantage in behind this Costa Rican defense.
This is an angle from which Aronson could cause havoc with the right delivery. Horrible set piece to have to try to defend. It is high towards the height of Pepe. Couldn't lever his way beyond a defender, Blanco.
Well, one thing that has stood out to me is the attacking set pieces for the United States haven't been a huge weapon for them in this World Cup qualifying round. We saw it work for them in the Gold Cup, and yet they haven't been as dangerous, and especially with their delivery. Both managers feel like set pieces could be a real advantage for both teams tonight. It's going to be important to see if the United States can capitalize.
Musa. Into space for Ware. Aronson waiting. Blanco on the cover. Not for the first time either. Dest. Who will bring it back for the free kick. Just been cast a particularly gloomy note, which asks me to inform you that the US have lost 6 of the last 7 World Cup qualifiers in which it's conceded the first goal. The exception to that run was the game against Honduras last month. Aronson. Anthony Robinson. Weston McKennie. Musa Clever ball. Dest. First touch was lacking. And in trying to retrieve the ball, he's committed a foul on Ronald Matarrita.
It was a heavy first touch for Serginho Dest that causes this foul on Matarrita. And many Columbus fans aren't going to be happy with anything Matarrita does as he's playing for their bitter rival in FC Cincinnati. But I love the movement and ideas from Aronson coming inside, allowing Dest to overlap. Those combinations are asking serious questions of Matarrita at left back for Costa Rica tonight. The one thing is, and we saw it against Jamaica and we've seen it early on, can Dest be better in the final third? He gets in great spots. Can he be better with his final delivery and that final touch? If he does, then you've got yourself a real opportunity to get Pepe some chances tonight.
We just got a glimpse there of Paul Areola, who was a very late withdrawal. He was fully engaged in the warm-up, pulled up with an injury as yet unidentified, and had to be replaced by Timothy Weah a matter of 10 minutes before kickoff. We're now being told it is a groin injury sustained by Areola, just kept him out of the game. Which leaves Yunus Musa as the only player to start all three of these October qualifiers.
But in the digital pregame show on all of our ESPN channels, John, I did mention to you that I thought Timothy Weah should have started anyways, because I feel like there's a little bit more nuance to Weah's game if you're going against a low block in the technical bit. Listen, Areola, you know exactly what you're going to get. Hard work, he's going to dig in, he's going to be contagious with his energy. But there's a little bit more nuance to Timothy Weah, especially in the final 25 yards. And if you're trying to break down 2 blocks of 4, I think it may be a blessing in disguise that Weah gets the nod because of the injury to Areola.
Well, interestingly, at training last night, when they went through shape and pattern of play, there were 2 or 3 either-ors where players were swapping in and out. One of those was Areola and Weah taking turns. Robertson down for Adams. Matarrita. Borges. Ricardo Blanco. It's the El Salvador game at the weekend through suspension, yellow card accumulation.
And obviously it needs to be said, we hope the injury to Paul Areola isn't one that takes him out for a long time.
Matarrita. Dest. Musa. Here he comes. Aronson, the only US player at the scene, tee up the ball. A word here with Serginho Dest. Keylor Navas winning his 99th cap, a paragon of goalkeeping excellence for 13 years for Costa Rica now. US have founded on his brilliance before now. Aronson. Anthony Robinson. It's Oscar Duarte. Dest. clear ball this time. Borges, poorly, only to McKennie. Anthony Robinson, there's Pepe! He didn't get clean contact. Everyone else has switched off. Dest hasn't. Ball still in play. Musa. Flicked on by Weir. It'll come here for Tyler Adams. Musa.
We've seen it. It's been slow starts in the first half. 0 goals in our last 8 games under Greg Berhalter for the United States. And yet an early wake-up call from Costa Rica all of a sudden has the urgency and competitiveness from the United States on their front foot. That final ball's been a huge question mark throughout World Cup qualifying. Is there enough quality there? That's a good ball in from Anthony Robinson. Unlucky for Ricardo Pepi to get his head on the end of it. That's good work though from Aronson, running as that second attacker off of Pepi up front.
ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by the all-new Volkswagen Taos. Joy is a state of drive. US received a nasty jolt 60 seconds in tonight. Keisha Fuller scored. Steadied themselves, dusted themselves down. And Turner tonight after 11 consecutive appearances. Faced by Zach Steffen. There was always a thought that Steffen would get one of these qualifiers. He happens to be in the city he used to call home. McKennie. Aronson had to wait for the ball. On for Weir. Dest is arriving, hurtling forward. Musa. Costa Rica have had a chance to regroup, but here's Dest! Oh! Just like his first goal for the US. Back against Jamaica earlier in the year. It's another thunderbolt from Serginho Dest, and at long, long last, the United States have discovered how to score a first-half goal.
It's been 9 games since the United States have scored in the first half, and they needed to give up an early goal to wake up, to be aggressive. How's this from the 20-year-old of Barcelona? What a fantastic strike to cut inside on his left foot and take the defender on, and then have the quality to put it past a world-class goalkeeper in Keylor Navas. Through all the struggles of World Cup qualifying, one thing's been apparent from this young side under Greg Berhalter. They react. They don't mind adversity, and they've answered the bell in the 26th minute. It's 1-1 here in Columbus.
A spectacular equalizer from Serginho Dest to calm some of the frayed nerves. Right back in name only. He is designed to attack and to cause chaos. Now is that the platform for the United States? Their legs swept from beneath them before they'd even settled. It's taken a while for their equilibrium to return. Venegas. Costa Rica. Tejeda. For Ricardo Blanco. On for Keisha Fuller. Anthony Robinson finding himself hemmed in and having to use his weaker right foot. Handed down by Pepe for Aronson. Those two already learning to combine very promisingly. Brendan Aronson maybe held on for just a millisecond too long.
Yeah, but what a tackle that was from Tejeda. Because Aronson's cut inside, opened up that channel to then deliver that ball to Musa going forward. See, I think the more they get Costa Rica in this game where spaces open up, it suits the younger legs. It suits the midfield three of the United States where they can then push the tempo. Adams can sit in almost as a third center back at times, and then Musa and McKennie can push the tempo through the middle. But you're already seeing Aronson, Dest, Weah, and even at times Anthony Robinson really ask some questions of this back line of Costa Rica when the game opens up.
Richards. States with 6 players aged 21 or under, Costa Rica with 6 players aged 30 or over. Miles Robinson, Dest. McKennie. Anthony Robinson. Musa. Dest. Miles Robinson. Weston McKennie. McKennie. Neat. Musa. Calvo on the stretch.
This is the Weston McKennie that many United States national team fans fell in love with at Schalke. Make up your mind quickly, decisive, and get going forward. But then it's most important, he's fantastic as that third or fourth attacking run out of the midfield. But when McKennie plays very direct and decisive, that's the biggest reason why he's worth over 20 million and he's at Juventus.
Aronson. 6 to aim at. It came out to Musa. He seems slightly surprised. Fielded by Dest. Anthony Robinson. Beyond Weir comes to Aronson, trying to find an angle. Calvo with the header, Aronson a second time, and Navas able to collect. By Jonathan Moyer, currently playing his football in the second division of the K-League in South Korea. Ground only just calming itself after the spectacular goal from Serginho Dest. 90 minutes after the end of the game tonight, he will be on a private charter plane, sitting next to Yunus Musa, flying back to Frankfurt overnight, ready to resume club duty. Those two face each other in La Liga this weekend, Barcelona against Valencia. Left by Adams for Aronson. It's pre-worked. It's Richards with the nod down. Straight off the training pitch last night. It's nice, pleasing to see innovation of sorts. This is McKennie. There's a greater adventure, sense of energy and exuberance now about the United States. It's in no small measure to Serginho Dest. McKennie. Duarte's header. And then the bicycle kick by Tejeda. Chris Richards, before tonight, just 3 substitute appearances in friendlies for the national team. McKennie. Where?
I think it's important that the United States don't take their foot off the gas here, because you can tell Costa Rica obviously coming with their 3rd game in 7 days. They haven't rotated the squad the way Greg Berhalter and the United States have done. So I think you want to keep the pressure on Costa Rica, make them chase the game, make them chase the younger, more energetic legs from the United States. And especially going into halftime now.
Surprising scoreline coming in from BMO Field, Toronto, in a game that kicked off at 7:30 Eastern. Canada 0, Panama 1. Rolando Blackburn has scored against the much vaunted Canadians. From Costa Rica, and a chance for Costa Rica. Moyer, tackle came in from Richards. It was clean enough. Costa Rica player down on the floor. Zach Steffen was decisive too. Referee says play on. There's no VAR, remember, in this. And Weston McKennie has it for the United States, as Luis Fernando Suarez mutters under his breath. Hugely experienced coach, into 2 World Cups. One with Ecuador, one with Honduras. This is not a vintage Costa Rica squad that he's in charge of. Offside now. Talking point was the penalty appeal.
Well, and initially was Musa sliding in, try to recover, because as Costa Rica gets by at both Adams and McKennie, this slides into Moya, and Richards slides in back left. That's a penalty for me. Because as this ball hits Musa, is played into Moya, does Richards touch the ball whatsoever? He does not. And yet the question is, does Moya kick the turf? From where the referee's point of view, he couldn't have called that because he was about behind 4 or 5 players. And that is, again, why I go back to, that's why you have to have VAR in World Cup qualifying here in CONCACAF.
For now, well-publicized reasons, we don't. This is Blanco, that's a corner. Just reminding those of you who may not have seen the whys and wherefores of the VAR or non-VAR issue in CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers. The thought is that some of the nations don't have the infrastructure or the technology to implement it successfully, and so if it can't be implemented across the board, CONCACAF say it shouldn't be implemented at all. Otherwise you would have games refereed to differing standards. Costa Rica thwarted by Pepe at the near post. Tejeda. And a chance, which is helped on its way by Zach Steffen.
Well, and Tyler Adams is livid right now with Timothy Way and Brendan Aronson, because over the last 3 minutes, the United States have been slopping their defensive third playing on. I go back to that point of keeping your foot down on the pedal, keep getting after Costa Rica and put them under pressure. Right now, the momentum has switched a little bit to Costa Rica.
Borges, whose shot was turned aside. It's Blanco at his own leisure, who's going to come across and eventually take the corner. So Borges, who has twice scored in World Cup qualifying wins for Costa Rica against the US. So proper crowd scene in and around Zach Steffen, who's motioning to the referee to say, wasn't I fouled? Damien Parchment says, no, you weren't, hence another corner. You would expect Costa Rica to do precisely the same again and discomfort the goalkeeper. It's not quite so easy from what will be an out-swinging corner rather than an in-swinger. Steffen should have a bit more licence to free himself. Blanco. Matarrita. Up goes Ruiz. Borges had the volley, and the US can break. Weston McKennie trying to take the route around the outside of Ricardo Blanco. McKennie wins it back. He gave it away in haste. Ruiz, such an elegant performer for so long. The Dutch league title, say 12 years ago now, then had a successful stint with Fulham in the Premier League. Played in Brazil. Where? That's Duarte. Kept in by Anthony Robinson. Ricardo Pepe. Difficult to get power and purchase on the header from there. It's judged by Miles Robinson. Makes that a good recovery. Dest. This model of the modern fullback. Maybe wing-back is his more suited role.
Yeah, but Costa Rica doesn't want to get into this kind of game. You've seen it now with both Musa, Weah, and even Serginho Dest with just a little half turn through the midfield, and you bypass 2 or 3 Costa Rican defenders, and then you're running at their back line.
Half-time will be getting the views of Jermaine Jones. 5 appearances against Costa Rica and 1 goal in a game at the Copa America. Casey Keller, 9 appearances against Costa Rica, 6 of those in World Cup qualifiers. Both see the highs and the lows against a team that has always been a tricky, a difficult opponent, particularly in Costa Rica, where the United States have yet to win. All 18 US victories against this opposition have been on US soil. Seeing as we've got a break in play, we could compare Casey and Jermaine's experiences against Costa Rica with yours, Taylor. Just the 1 cap, 2005. Do I have to fill in all the details of a 3-0 defeat in a World Cup qualifier in which you started?
You scored a goal and it didn't count for the record.
No, you didn't score a goal.
You know what the funny part of that is? Sabarillo was on that roster. We might well see Alvaro Sabarillo in the second half for Costa Rica. 5 months short of his 40th birthday. Calvo. Tonight deprived of Joel Campbell with an ankle injury. Regular striker Ortiz, positive for COVID. Expecting a couple of additional minutes here. Duarte. Anthony Robinson pushed up, leaving Keisha Fuller, Costa Rica's goal scorer, offside. Thoughts on the first half as a whole, Taylor? I think it's a positive sign that the United States reacted, as inexperienced as they are in these moments. All of these new experiences that they have is something they haven't been there before, especially as a group and even individuals. And so to react in the manner that they have at home and to go in at halftime at the minimum 1-1, that's a positive sign. I think the more Dest gets on the ball in the final third, Anthony Robinson, you get Musa asking some questions through the middle and just doing a little bit more and staying on the front foot, I think they could have themselves 3 points in the second half, because Costa Rica has tired out over the last 5 to 10 minutes here in the first half. You know, the substitutions are going to have a huge impact on this game, and namely on Costa Rica's side, because they don't want to make a ton of substitutions, and you're relying on an old team here.
McKennie. Aronson. And Pepe. In the midst of all that, it did strike an American arm, so play will restart with a Costa Rica free kick. A horrid start for the United States, behind after 60 seconds, but from that point on the graph has headed in a more favourable direction. Serginho Dest's fulminating equaliser, struck with power and purity with that gem of a left boot of his. has pulled the United States level with their first goal in the first half of a match since midsummer against Canada at the Gold Cup. There were talking points over Costa Rica's goal. Actually, it was shown by the replays to be excellent officiating for all the US protests. Talking points aplenty, and rather more smiles than frowns from a US perspective. Greg Berhalter, head coach of the US men's national team, is with Sam Ward.
Greg, first, what did you see from Serginho on that strike? How did it look to you?
I had the perfect angle. You had the perfect angle. Unbelievable goal. To beat Navas like that is a special goal.
It looked like you were talking to the officials at the end of the half there. What did you have to say to them?
I mean, you guys saw the video also. It's offsides, the goal, and it's a shame because it's in the first minute, and we got to claw our way back into the game. But, you know, there's not much I can fault with our performance right now. We're playing really well. I think the second goal is coming, but we got to maintain that intensity.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
And not to undermine Greg Berhalter, but we are honor bound to point out that the goal was not offside. It was correctly given, despite all the protests, which in the heat of the moment were understandable, but were ill-founded. Mark Clattenburg clarified that for us. So, a rather sloppy goal and a painful one for the US. And then this gem, polished and sparkling, which has lifted the mood in Columbus, Ohio.
Tonight is provided by Goodyear. Goodyear, more driven. Lower.com field the site, and through 45 minutes, the U.S. and Costa Rica battling to an even scoreline, a 1-1 draw. Alongside Casey Keller, Jermaine Jones, I'm Sebastian Salazar. We got a lot to catch up on from that first half. Let's jump right into the highlights, because it wasn't long before Costa Rica grabbed a lead in this game. In fact, in the first minute of play, Zach Steffen off his line, forced to head it clear. It falls eventually, guys, to Ronald Matarrita. He'll send it across to Keisher Fuller, and Fuller provides the final touch. We've established, Casey, it wasn't offside. Should Zach Steffen have done more here then?
It's hard because you're trying to make a double reaction. Does he touch it? Does he not touch it? Regardless, as a goalkeeper, if I never have to head a ball, I'm really happy. So something got stretched to begin with, and then it all got wrong, and the marking was terrible in the end.
U.S. responds, though, in the 25th minute. Jermaine, how about this golazo from Serginho Dest?
It's an unbelievable goal. We don't have to talk about that. It's amazing, and I think for him, we had this conversation before. His strength is in attacking football.
Penalty there, Casey?
No, I don't think so, but this all started from just overplaying out of the back. There was 2 or 3 opportunities in this corner just to hook the ball up the field. It's before halftime. Instead, they give the ball away. Look, it's a risky challenge, no question about it. But in the end, I think it was the right call.
But exactly, that's what I want to say. Maybe they made a couple mistakes before. I think it's like the chance of Weston McKennie can maybe turn with the ball and play out from that pressure, going back into it, then the ball traps kind of into the box, and then you get like a 50-50 chance. The goalkeeper, you know, like is in a tough position, Zach, but then the ref can give penalty, but he doesn't.
And with no VAR, you're really, you know, at the mercy of a split-second decision from a bad angle. And look, I like the call, but I think there's a point in time, and when you're looking at this Costa Rica side, they're going to wait for 1 or 2 chances. They're not going to overrun the U.S. in this match. It's overplaying out of the back, giving a turnover, taking advantage, bam, getting that second goal, and then you got another mountain to climb.
Can we go back real quick to the Serginho Dest goal in the 25th minute? Because Dest finishes it off. But Jermaine, this begins all the way at the back. This is the football we were promised when Greg Berhalter took over.
Yeah, it's like, look at this, like they're playing the halftime, they see the space, they're going forward. It's every ball is actually like going forward, right? It's like coming out of this pressure, deep ball into space, you know. He takes his time, he looks, tries to cross it, or, you know, overplays a little bit, maybe tries to play McKennie, then Musa gets the ball back into the middle, and now it's a dream goal. It's like on him, Serginho, but
and he beats Navas too.
Well, look, it doesn't matter who was in goal there. I mean, that was an unbelievable strike. You saw the bend on it going away into the top corner. Absolutely fantastic. But the standard was set, right? Once they went the goal down, they really put Costa Rica on their heels. Then after they scored, Costa Rica got back into the match a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see how this second half starts for the U.S.
I'm looking at some of the options potentially off the bench. Again, you need a goal. You want to win here. Zardes, Roldan, Luca Della Torre, Gianluca Busio, Matthew Hoppe. Those are your attacking options. Any of those names ready for this?
I think they all have to be ready. You know, it's not only the first 11. All the people who maybe have an option, especially Zardes, to come in. Maybe, you know, like there can be. Who knows when you need him, you know, and maybe you need him to finish the game, maybe you need him to come back.
But we've talked about a young, inexperienced squad. You should start naming a bunch of players. The question is, or the answer is, we don't know because they don't know. But when you get the opportunity, show us that you belong on this stage.
So an early goal then from Costa Rica, canceled out by a stunner from Serginho Dest. We are 1-1 at the half. Huge 45 minutes coming from Columbus. We're back with more in a moment. Champ, which is Volkswagen's telepresence player honorary robot, joined the U.S. men's national team and today's honoree during their walkouts. The honoree Carson, he's a 12-year-old U.S. soccer superfan who's been battling cancer, and thanks to Champ, Volkswagen is giving fans like him experiences that otherwise would not be able to happen due to challenging circumstances or hardships. It's your U.S. soccer player honoree program. Speaking of soccer, plenty of it coming up on not just ESPN, but ESPN Plus. Big games in the Bundesliga this weekend, the New York Derby in Major League Soccer. How about a little Yunus Musa versus Serginho Dest, Barcelona and Valencia on ESPN Plus Sunday, and the U.S. women's national team in action next week in Kansas City. What changes does Greg Berhalter have in store? We'll see in just moments. Second half next from Columbus.
Now shine on, cause we're made from the stars.
One apiece in a vital World Cup qualifier at Lower.com Field in Columbus, Ohio. ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by Volkswagen. So all square, and some interesting and dramatic news emerging as the players appear for the second half. Costa Rica's very decorated and much praised goalkeeper Keylor Navas is unable to continue because of an injury to his right adductor. And so Leonel Moreira of Alajuelense is going to come on to win his 21st cap. He's not inexperienced. For 10 years he's been Navas's understudy, and he did actually play against the United States in a friendly in June when he conceded 4 goals. Bearing in mind how Navas has performed with sustained brilliance against the United States time and again, whilst there will be sympathy for this top-line goalkeeper who is forced off, there will also be a modicum of pleasure that they don't have that man to try and have to beat now.
Well, and as big of a surprise as that sub is, I think it's even more surprising that Greg Berhalter hasn't made a sub at halftime. And I think he liked the last 35 minutes from the group. It's going to be interesting to see how long Musa can go, because obviously he's played a good amount of minutes here. And obviously Serginho Dest as well. As you can see, Berhalter have a conversation with Yedlin, but he liked the last 35 minutes and wants to give this group, I think, the next 10 to 15 minutes to try to get that second goal.
Away we go then. The task for the US tonight is to put Panama in the rearview mirror and rev up for next month's very high-profile visit of Mexico, just down I-71 at Cincinnati. 1 miles away, 30 days away, that fixture. Highlight of every qualifying cycle. The US want to approach that in a winning frame of mind, having enjoyed 2 excellent wins over Mexico this year to claim the Gold Cup and the Nations League trophy. This is the one that really, really matters upcoming. Elsewhere, Canada Canada are level against Panama. They were behind early in that game, a goal by Blackburn, but an own goal has pulled the Canadians level. Game in Toronto. Anthony Robinson. Another injury problem. And immediately boos from some of the home spectators who suspect a bit of time wasting already, even at this early juncture. It is likely to be an uphill climb for Costa Rica in the second half.
Well, where so many chances for the United States came from Robinson coming down the left, Serginho Dest coming down the right. I think it's vital for the United States that the three in the midfield are as dynamic as they were in the last 20 to 25 minutes of that first half. I felt like Costa Rica really struggled through the middle of the park, and if those three, especially Musa and McKennie, can push the tempo and allow Tyler Adams to just sit and put out some fires, but really put some real pressure through Costa Rica's middle, then good things will happen in wide areas, because then they have to compact, and then you can look for that little slip ball in behind and try to get Ricardo Pepi some chances to get on the end of.
Yunus Musa. So bounced back well from a patchy display in Panama. It's perhaps being kind. McKennie. Timothy Ware. In because Areola was injured in the warm-up tonight. Change confirmed just minutes before kick-off. Musa. Adams. There is a certain spirit of enterprise about the United States tonight, which is encouraging.
And especially a lot of that is with Musa being a little engaging through the middle. I think he does a wonderful job of using his ability to break down defenders off the dribble, but more so runs off the ball to play off of Pepi sometimes as a second forward, but more so with McKennie and him really putting pressure on Borges and Tejeda to really force Costa Rica into some bad spots in possession. I mean, as experienced as this team is from Costa Rica, they are as undynamic, if that's even a word, John, as I've ever seen. What is the word, by the way, I'm looking for?
Just passive. Anthony Robinson. Taylor, thesaurus out. I'll give you moribund. Don't look at me blankly. We do share a language, you know. Not much else, but a language. Anthony Robinson again.
Oh, good spot there from McKennie as well.
Brian Ruiz. Fuller. Fuller at the moment deployed on the left-hand side. He's normally a right back, but started as a right winger and scored a goal after exactly a minute. Matarrita. To Borges. Time record appearance maker, 144th cap for Costa Rica this evening. In contact, 144 caps for Celso Borges on his own, 161 combined for all the US players. Weston McKennie. Serginho Dest is just taking a while to pick himself up. In fact, he's not got to that stage. He stays down. And sportingly, because he was under no obligation, Keisha Fuller puts the ball out of play so Dest can receive some attention.
Well, and it was interesting right out of halftime that Greg Berhalter came out and had a conversation with DeAndre Yedlin. And so you wonder at halftime, did Sergiño Dest talk about that ankle and maybe coming out, seeing if he could give 15, 20 minutes here, but he hasn't been moving as easily as he was in that first half. And that's why I found that conversation with Yedlin very, very interesting, because it wasn't with Zardes and it wasn't with any of the midfielders, but it was more so with DeAndre Yedlin and basically looking at him saying, in the next 10, 15 minutes, you may need to go here.
Looks like the US have picked up a casualty here. Dest is amongst this plethora of players who will be whisked away from the stadium as soon as the game is finished to John Glenn International Airport, where a charter plane will be warming its engines even now, and they will be whisked through the night to Frankfurt. A flight that's paid for in part by US Soccer and in part by the players' respective clubs. It's a means of getting them back as quickly as possible for training and fixtures across the continent of Europe at the weekend. Up in the posh seats, the Brains Trust, both with notable goals against Costa Rica in previous World Cup qualifiers. Brian McBride, very well known in this parish, on the left, and Ernie Stewart on the right. Here's Aronson. Readjustment by Calvo. Anthony Robinson. And now Blanco. That did appear to drift out of play. 2 balls on the pitch. The name of Ricardo Blanco rings a bell. It will have a particular resonance for fans of the Philadelphia Union. A particularly bad tackle on Kai Wagner earlier in the season in the CONCACAF Champions League, which sparked a brawl in that game. Musa. Anthony Robinson. Duarte. McKennie. Over goes Adams, and Venegas emerges with it. Sergiño Dest seems to be moving with relative freedom again. Though in what degree of discomfort he is, obviously are not quite clear. Veteran stage of the career of many of the Costa Rican players. I should just mention that one of their number, Giancarlo Gonzalez, announced his international retirement today. It's Ricardo Pepi. Aronson.
It's amazing how quickly Brendan Aronson's matured since moving to Europe, and Jim Curtin and the Philadelphia Union did a wonderful job of preparing for that move. But the maturation over the last 12 months has stunned a lot of people, including Greg Berhalter and the U.S. staff. Just his understanding of spaces, but then also how much better he's gotten in that final third with his decisions and making up his mind for what the next play is.
And it's Aronson who wins a free kick.
But the one thing you can't teach is for 90 minutes, it is relentless at a high pace. Brendan Aronson, from the moment he steps on the field to the moment he walks off, he's running at you, he's consistently getting after you, and it's at a high pace that is very difficult to match.
Philadelphia very excited about his younger brother, Paxton. Oh, mistake! And this is Brian Ruiz, and he may need help because he lacks pace. He was never quick, but these days he's very slow. And that's what lets the United States off the hook. After a pretty heinous defensive error. It's a big let-off. Aronson. Free kick Costa Rica. It could easily have been a go-ahead goal for Costa Rica.
Well, U.S. fans right now are dry heaving at home because this is almost identical to the World Cup qualifying goal at Red Bull Arena in 2017, where they were spread out and Marco Arena, out of the blue, caught him off guard and put it in the back of the net. Fortunate for the U.S. and Miles Robinson, then that was 36-year-old Brian Ruiz, who's on his last leg of his career.
Very fortunate on the US's part. The ball fell to Ruiz, all the Costa Rican players. Tremendous servant over the years, but his best days certainly behind him. Anthony Robinson, referee playing advantage here after a foul on Aronson. It's Chris Richards. Dest. Tyler Adams within range into the penalty area. There was no contact. There wasn't the space to get a shot away. Dest. Brian Ruiz, that looked like a foul. Very surprised it wasn't given. Anthony Robinson. Weston McKennie. The chance to curl it inside the angle, and Costa Rica would have been up in arms if that had led to a goal.
The only thing is when you see the United States attacking players get in these spots, there's no diversity to the runs in and around the 18. Weston McKennie does a wonderful job of getting Anthony Robinson in, but all three runs from the United States are straight on, so it's easy to defend and it's easy to pick up from the Costa Rican defenders. There's got to be a little bit more diversity where one comes near, the other comes far, and then you can pull off to the penalty spot. But as Anthony Robinson gets in a great spot from Weston McKennie, there's got to be a little bit more from the United States front three.
Rica. Where? Definitely caught. Only for Tejeda.
It's been a difficult night for Tejeda and Borges because they're chasing shadows through the middle. As dynamic as the United States have been, it's been uninspiring from Costa Rica, especially in the midfield. Because with 1-2 touch, quick passing, movement in and around rotations, you can really pull apart the Costa Rican defense and find yourself in some real good moments in that final third.
Ruiz. Foul by Pepe. His learning curve is arguably the steepest of any of the US players at the moment, given his youth. Tejeda. Francisco Calvo. Richards down casually to Anthony Robinson. Zach Steffen, who's just had the 2 appearances for Manchester City so far this season. Baton picked up by Adams.
At some point, persistent infringement has to be in the equation, doesn't it?
At some point.
It was good work from Zach Steffen in the back line of the United States to get Tyler Adams in open space in the midfield.
Anthony Robinson. Brendan Aronson. McKennie, Aronson, Anthony Robinson. Drifted out for a goal kick. Rates himself. Darlington Nagbe and Caleb Porter amongst the interested spectators this evening, the home head coach, and of course Darlington Nagbe, the man who many US fans would love to see in the team. He doesn't want to be part of it. Tim Bezbatchenko in the row in front. It's his 40th birthday tonight.
Yep, and he's sitting next to the wonderful ownership group of the Haslams that have built a great stadium here. If you haven't been here in Columbus, this is something else.
And so we're told is Cincinnati's, which we are due to visit in just over 4 weeks' time for US-Mexico. We'll have to go some to beat this. Ruiz. Tackling's never been a strong point. Richards. Johan Venegas. Richards wants it back and just outran Venegas.
Right now, Timothy Way is down.
Just picked himself up and got himself back on side, but he's not moving with entire freedom. Adams.
He didn't blow his whistle for the foul. I think he blew the whistle because he felt like Brian Ruiz was injured, correct?
I mean, I thought whatever contact there was certainly embellished by Ruiz.
I mean, how often when you watch this 63 minutes tonight is that man in the right position at the right time in little moments? Clearances from Costa Rica, who cleans it up? Tyler Adams. That's why over the last 48 to 72 hours on all of our shows here at ESPN, the most important player for Greg Berhalter is Tyler Adams, because it's the one position that they don't have depth at. We saw that in Panama, and when he's healthy, this is a completely different team. He allows the other players to do what they're good at because he puts out so many fires, and you can take some risks because Tyler Adams, more often than not, is going to be in the right spot at the right time.
It's a position and a role patented by Claude Makelele. McKennie. Where? US behind after a minute. Takesha Fuller level on 25. For a thunderous strike from Serginho Dest. Anything other than a US victory will be regarded as highly unsatisfactory given the limitations of the opposition and the home advantage. And with Mexico to come next. Pepe. Offside. And there is activity down on the United States bench below us. We are going to see the introduction of Matthew Hoppe. Only 2 outfield players on this roster who haven't appeared across these games, Hoppe and Gianluca Busio. Same goes for the third choice goalkeeper Sean Johnson. Pepe. Dest. Aronson wanted it played early. Pepe. Dest again. Not sure about the Rabona pass in that position. Anthony Robinson. Sizable figure of Duarte with a poor clearance. US can turn the screw here with Musa. Costa Rica just hanging on in there. Not creating much. They were gifted an opening a few moments ago. It's mostly defensive on their part. Here's Weah! It's in! Timothy Weah celebrates. It may go down as an own goal because it came off the post onto the keeper and in. But who cares a jot about that if you're wearing the red, the white and the blue?
What a tough moment this is for the Costa Rican defender, Fuller. Opening goal, puts the United States on his heels, and then this one can't deal with a ugly ball from Weston McKennie. And very quickly, Serginho Dest recognizes exactly the opportunity ahead of him. Take one touch, play way ahead of him, and great on Timothy Weah to not take a touch. If he takes a touch, his angle's gone. But he turns his body, has a hit near post. For the luck of the United States here in Columbus, it's 2-1 with a huge goal from Timothy Weah.
Well, technically, in most places around the world, that is an own goal by the unfortunate Lionel Moreira. But there's no dubious goals panel in World Cup qualification. So if Timothy Weah shouts long enough and loud enough, he may just get it. Most important fact in the midst of it all is that the scoreline in the top left corner of your screen is now one that is eliciting smiles around lower.com field. And a feeling of relief as well. But here's Matarrita for Costa Rica. And Stefan has to be alert at the other end. Randall Leal has come on in place of Jonathan Moyer in the wake of the goal celebration. Coffey hasn't come on yet. Here's Weah. This time goalkeeper angles absolutely right and luck on his side. Aronson. Pepe goes down. Was he pushed? The referee says no. And Costa Rica are caught on the ropes.
What's remarkable is Timothy Weah was going to be coming out of this game about 2 minutes ago.
We heard Greg Berhalter say to the fourth official, you can't be scared to make a decision when talking about the referee. Felt that Pepe was impeded and it should have been a penalty. Now there is confirmation that that second US goal is officially an own goal against Lionel Moreira, Costa Rica's replacement keeper.
Which begs the question, does Navas save it?
Was it bad luck or bad goalkeeping that he only managed to get a little piece of it and push it against the post? Bearing in mind Navas' record against the US down the years, yes, of course Navas would have saved it. He's saved just about everything. McKennie. Anthony Robinson! Oh, it was nearly a second own goal. That would have been Calvo. And the US are all over Costa Rica at the moment. They need something tangible to show for that dominance.
Yeah, the issue now for Costa Rica is they're chasing shadows. Anthony Robinson makes a simple run in behind, and all four defenders from Costa Rica have their arms up in the air looking for offside. This is where the killer instinct, that lack of experience, can you find that? Can you grow as a group as the United States and get that third goal and make sure you guarantee yourself 3 points here at home?
That's sloppy. Dest was looking along the line. This was nearly own goal number 2.
It's been the Dest and Anthony Robinson show tonight because so many of the good chances from the United States have come when those two fullbacks have gotten in behind, and then Francisco Calvo is now running at his own goal. That's a dangerous ball, lucky for him, and it doesn't end up at the back of the net. But right now, Costa Rica's chasing this. And as bad of an experience as it was in Panama, this is as good of an experience for an inexperienced group in the United States. If you can find a third goal, you grow into the game, you answered the first punch, the first minute giving up a goal, This is where a young group can really gain some momentum in World Cup qualifying if they can find themselves that third goal and get 3 points.
The last 3 World Cup qualifiers between these nations have been won by Costa Rica. 2 of them very painfully in the last cycle. The last 3 meetings, all in friendlies, have been won by the US. Leal of Nashville. Practice for Zach Steffen. Still those 2 US substitutions are pending. Players ready down below us. Maybe this is the opportunity. It's going to be DeAndre Yedlin taking the place of Serginho Dest. And subsequent to that, it will be Matthew Hoppe in place of Timothy Ware. Dest, who's provided the biggest spark of the evening. Coruscating shot in the 25th minute to haul the US level. Matthew Hoppe on for his 6th cap. Playing time has been sparse for Mallorca this season, having moved from Schalke. Just a couple of appearances. He's not started for them since a 6-1 defeat at Real Madrid. And Yedlin, the comparative old stager at the ripe old age of 28, on for his 69th cap. Calvo, cannons off McKennie.
And I like this move here with Hoppe coming in because he thinks more as a center forward, as a 9. And so his runs are going to be with the goal in mind, and now it's going to give the United States a second player to get on the end of those dangerous crosses from Robinson, and now ultimately it's going to be Yedlin and maybe Aronson. But what a finish from Dest tonight. Both goals from for his United States career of world-class quality.
Lap of honour, effectively, having gone off on the far side of the pitch.
But you still got 15+ minutes here. And so this is where you've really got to learn, dig deep, and make sure you're very pragmatic in your defensive structure, but then take advantage of the opportunities to put this game away.
And no more daft errors like the one that almost allowed Brian Ruiz in. Leal, Matarrita. Past and present MLS pedigree now in this Costa Rican lineup. Hoppe. Ruiz. Fuller. Musa has hit the deck in the centre of the field with what looks like cramp. He's doing stretching exercises. Now succumbs to the discomfort. Gianluca Busio is going to get a run. He's the only remaining outfield player who's not seen duty this month. Taking his baby steps in Serie A, and very promising baby steps they are too. These are the salient moments tonight.
When it's the reaction from the United States after giving up a goal in the first minute of the game. They were on the front foot. They got their fullbacks in some good spots. And then in the second half, it hasn't been as high energy as it was, but then Timothy Weah takes advantage of a mistake from Costa Rica. And the own goal gives the United States a 2-1 lead here in the 77th minute.
Across to meet Fuller. It's a goal kick. Here comes Gianluca Busio's moment. Unsurprisingly, he's coming on for Yunus Musa. 7th cap for the player who began the season with Sporting Kansas City and is now strutting his stuff for Venezia. Better night for Musa after a difficult day in Panama?
Absolutely. You learn a lot about a player, how he reacts after a difficult 45 minutes. And Greg Berhalter wanted to see what kind of Musa they got tonight, and they got a very good one, especially in the first half. And bringing in a player that they worked within the 11 yesterday in training. They worked a lot with Busio in this lineup because Greg Berhalter has been surprised at how quickly he's grown in to his role in Serie A and how quickly he's taking a role here with the national team and trying to be a difference.
He's fresh from scoring his first Italian league goal. It's a 95th minute equaliser for Venezia at Cagliari. Brought him here in a pretty chipper mood. Hoppe, Adams. Aronson. Yedlin to Busio. DeAndre Yedlin, Brendan Aronson, standing one up for Hoppe. And Pepe, presence of mind. Solid defending. Busio again. Costa Rica with a defender prone on the 6-yard line. Too many clear sights of goal for Ricardo Pepe. It's a first half header. He's been tightly marshalled, as he will be from now on.
And Aronson wasn't far off from this chip here because he had the goalkeeper in that precarious position where he had overcommitted to that near post, and he has him here. But Hoppe, great work rate to keep the play alive, and you felt like when Pepe immediately cut that, he had beaten the defender. But good work from Matthew Hoppe to keep this alive here. I just wonder, as this break is happening with the injured Costa Rican player, is someone on the field reminding Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie that you are on a yellow and to be very, very careful here in the final 12-plus minutes? Because during that, Greg Berhalter, as Weston McKennie came over to get a drink, you would have to think that's part of the conversation. You want to guarantee yourself 3 points. So I'm not sitting here saying that you maybe want to bring them off, but on the other hand, you've got to think about that as this game progresses with a 2-1 lead.
Yellow card for either, and they would miss the Mexico game next month. Anthony Robbins. Issue not yet decided. Brian Ruiz. Official attendance is just confirmed as a shade over 20,000 at his capacity. World Cup qualifier to be played in the city of Columbus, the first of this splendidly appointed new arena. Given up by Miles Robbins. Ruiz. Costa Rica may may be elderly, but they're also streetwise. Matarrita. Calmly done by Adams. Aronson. Yedlin. Average age of the US team, 22. Average age of Costa Rica, 31.
And they're bringing in two players combined 76 years old, and Bolaños and Saborío here.
Yedlin. Busio. Well, did the charge of Moreira off his line put Hoppy off? It's a wild piece of goalkeeping.
It is, but this is also why I like Hoppy within this roster. It gives you a different look. You know, they don't really know what his best position is, but in the second half, you can bring him on, put him in a wide area, but allow him the freedom to play as a second forward when the ball gets in wide areas.
ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by the all-new Volkswagen Taos. Joy is a state of drive. Busio. Early and long for Hoppy. It's going to be a triple change at the next break in play for Costa Rica. Kendall Waston, Alvaro Saborío, Christian Bolaños. So here is the final throw by Luis Fernando Suarez. He's raided the local retirement home. And he's wheeling out Christian Bolaños, 37, Kendall Waston, 33, and Alvaro Saborío, who is perilously close to his 40th birthday, 251 caps between them. And if you thought that Saborío retired 4 years ago, you're right, he did. Leal. Mistimed. All the protestations of Miles Robinson.
There's been a couple nervy moments in the second half for Miles Robinson, both with the ball at his feet and also these late challenges here with a play that he really didn't need to dive in there and give Costa Rica this dangerous free kick here.
World Cup qualifying campaigns are built on fine margins. Moments of good luck, of ill fortune, of inspiration, of error.
Busio is marking Kendall Waston here. This has to be addressed from the United States.
The US are wanting to get two defenders, or two players on one defender.
Absolutely, that's why you got to get Walker Zimmerman on the field here as quickly as possible. You know, the referee He didn't need to allow the substitution to come in here. That's a gift.
Well, Costa Rica, figuratively, at least turned to those with Zimmer frames. The US turned to Zimmerman. And then the other change, Giassi Zardes, is replacing Ricardo Pepi. Both of those provide height and ballast to defend this Costa Rican set piece. Bolaños. Waston was in there, Saborio was in there as well, and in the end it's a free kick to the United States and a very sharp, collected intake of breath.
Listen, you never want to make substitutions on set pieces, I understand that, but it was Kendall Waston against Gianluca Busio, and so the referee allowing Zimmerman and Zardes to come in here allowed the United States a better opportunity to defend this in front of Zach Steffen.
Well, this is like all our yesterdays now. Player out there in Alvaro Saborio, who made his international debut before Ricardo Pepi was born. He's been playing in this fixture for nearly 20 years. Bolaños not far short of that. Borges too. It's alone Brian Ruiz. The US could put a stop to all these nerves with one more goal.
But it also begs the question for Costa Rica when you've got about 6 to 7 under 23 players that should be within the program. You look at the United States bringing in their young players. Costa Rica have addressed World Cup qualifying saying, we're going to go with the old guys, even guys that retired 4 years ago. And here they are in that situation where they look tired, they look uninspired, and they look like they are lacking ideas.
Zardes. Latest score from San Pedro Sula, Honduras 0, Jamaica 1. Kemar Ruth has scored for Theodore Whitmore's Jamaica. Busio. Adams. Zimmerman. Adams. Busio, open ground ahead of DeAndre Yedlin. Hoppy wants it. Just too strong for him. Anthony Robinson keeping it alive. For Tyler Adams. Again, Anthony Robinson.
How about Busio coming into this one and having an impact? Ball forward to DeAndre Yedlin, and then a good clip ball over the top to Anthony Robinson.
Zardes for a big Columbus roar. Here's Hoppy. Now it's Busio. And Calvo, while sinking to the floor, blocks it clear for a corner.
Zardes just does so many of the little things that Greg Berhalter and the staff love. Whether it's running the channels, high pressure, turning it over, just does so many things for the betterment of the team. And he's come into this one and put some pressure on Calvo and the Costa Rican defense.
It's a stroll for Busio. No one's rushing amongst the US ranks. Looks like it's going to be 4 extra minutes when the ball goes up. That's what the fourth official is rehearsing down below us. No escape. Costa Rica initially, now Ruiz has it, but precious few options. The US keep the ball, they retain the points. Points that would lift them temporarily at least above Mexico at the top of the octagonal. Mexico in action in El Salvador a little later. And of course the next engagement for the US is Age-old rivals, Mexico in Cincinnati. 4 weeks on Friday. Celebrations could yet prove to be premature. Ruiz. Calvo. On by Tejeda. Up goes Saborio. This is an art in itself, trying to take the sting out of the closing stages of a highly competitive international. Taking on Matarrita a second time. He's injected energy, impetus. To borrow your word from earlier, Taylor, dynamism to the United States. At a critical juncture too. Tyler Adams. Costa Rica for long periods of the second half have been there for the taking, but they know how their experience has somehow kept them in business. Randall Leal to Ricardo Blanco. Bolaños. It's a mighty coming together, and Zardes is down on the floor. McKennie. In a number of moments when one more accurate pass, and the US would surely have had that clinching third. Zardes is back up on his feet. Quite the collision with Kendall Waston. Saborio. We will bring that back for one possibly final free kick for Costa Rica. The US are not doing this the comfortable way. Still anxious, Greg Berhalter. Showing some agitation, some members of his staff.
Well, there's a little confusion here from the United States whether or not to keep a high line.
Hoisted by Adams. Zardes kicks it as far as possible. Halfway to Cincinnati. It's next stop Cincinnati, and the United States have got themselves back on track. It wasn't always pretty. It was very far from perfect. But what it undoubtedly was and is pleasing and relieving and restorative to the United States World Cup qualifying campaign.
The youngest team the United States have ever started in a World Cup qualifier. And in the first minute, adversity smacked them right in the face. And coming off a performance that was anemic at best in Panama City, there were big concerns for Greg Berhalter and the United States. Were they up to the task? He rolled the dice a little bit by playing Zach Steffen and making 10 changes to the lineup that we saw in Panama. And yet, for a young, inexperienced team to fight back and to get a world-class goal from Serginho Dest and then an own goal from Timothy Weah, great reaction today from the United States.
Let's hear from the man who provided the highlight of the night, Serginho Dest, with Sam Borden.
Thank you, Serginho. First, that strike. What did you see? What did it feel like?
It was an amazing feeling. I just got it in, I saw Weston moving out, I got it in, and I was just like, I had to shoot it. So I just shot it and it went in. Amazing feeling.
When you saw it hit the back of the net, what went through your mind?
I was just so happy, you know, like we needed that goal and we need to win the games because the points are important. We all want to go to the World Cup, so I think it was a really important goal.
What does it say about your team to take a punch like you guys did in the first minute and then come back from that?
Yeah, that says a lot, man. The mentality of this team is really well. You know, we help each other. We're playing like a team, and yeah, as I said, you know, everybody see like we need those points, so we have to go for it.
Only 1 month till Mexico. How do you feel about where this team is right now?
They play 1-1, Mexico?
No, 1 month until you play Mexico. How do you feel about where your team is right now?
Oh, yeah, I think we did a great job today. You know, of course, we tied. We lost against Panama last game, but right now we're on the right track. So we have to keep continuing this.
Thanks very much. John, back to you.
Well, if it does finish 1-1 between El Salvador and Mexico, there'll be a few more smiles on US faces. It seems an unlikely outcome. That's a game that takes place later this evening. But the United States men's national team taking the applause and the acclaim of a full house back in Columbus, Ohio, and back on the winning trail, back on track. They scored a first half goal. They also came from behind in the midst of adversity. They benefited from an own goal. But you make your own luck at this level of professional soccer, and the effort and the exuberance and the energy saw the United States edge their way across the finishing line, and for the time being, to the top of the octagonal. Back to you, sir.
So there you have it, a huge 3 points for Weston McKennie and this U.S. men's national team. And as John said, it's got them momentarily tied with Mexico atop the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying table. Alongside me, Casey Keller and Jermaine Jones. Guys, what did we learn about this U.S. team over the last 90 minutes?
You know, surprise. You have a lot of surprise for everybody. You know, there were like a lot of times like mistakes and like maybe other teams can punish you. But at the end, they have the win, and that's the most important thing for this.
Yeah, if I can see heart from some young players in adverse situation, going a goal down early, but they have to clean up the mistakes going forward. They have to learn from some of the mistakes tonight, because against a different opposition, it could have been different. But take nothing away. Let's just be excited. They fought back. They got 3 points. They learned some valuable lessons today, but we know it can be better.
We find also, Jermaine, that this is the best 11 for Greg Berhalter right now with the players that he has involved, as we compare it to the 11 that we saw in Panama.
Definitely, I would say that's the best 11. You saw it in the Jamaica game already. Now you see it again. And now, wait when you come back, the other guys come back and you can add Christian, you can add Reina, you can add all these guys. Then this team will be way stronger. Now they have to go through this learning process to learn, stop making this like small mistakes, because other teams maybe can punish you.
Yeah, there's a point when you're at 2-1 up, late in the game. You have to learn how to see those matches out. Put the ball in the corner, slow things down. Instead, we gave away 2 or 3 silly free kicks. We saw the big bodies come on from Costa Rica, scrambles in the box. Okay, learn from the issues. We know this is a very young team. We know it's very inexperienced, but they have to learn on the fly, and they have to learn quickly.
So Greg Berhalter was under a lot of pressure and frankly got a lot of criticism after the match down in Panama for the decisions he made in that starting lineup. But it was all guys with an eye on tonight and having to get these 3 points. Yes, the U.S. concedes first, but from then on, they overtook Costa Rica, a Costa Rica team, by the way, that didn't rotate as much, clearly ran out of legs. Do U.S. soccer pundits, myself included, owe Greg Berhalter a little bit of an apology?
You know, we talk about the game in Panama, and maybe there he had like an idea and he wanted to rest a couple people. He got, and I said this when we had this conversation, I said, it's not always the coach. It's not. He had an idea and he wanted to do it in, but we're still talking here about the American national team. That's the best players. And I will put it on the players. He put players in charge to go there and get points, and they were not able to do it. So this is why he come back here, and he got the guys back in field, or back on the field, the guys he had in Jamaica.
But Casey, he's not wrong to have prioritized these 3 points over a potential point in Panama, right?
Yes, I mean, I agree that, yeah, there's a point where you have to say, look, win your home games, but it does put a lot of pressure on yourself by making so many changes, by then almost saying what you just said. I'm not going to take this one quite as serious as this one, because for long stretches of this match, the theory that you're going to win 3 points at home wasn't where you wanted it to be. So I agree with Jermaine to the point where go to every match with the mindset we can get 3 points here. Because I'm telling you, this U.S. national team should not have lost to Panama in Panama. And so it puts you behind the 8 ball a little bit. They figured it out today. We saw some heart today.
Yep, got those big 3 points back in the table. 11 points now for this U.S. team in a very good spot when it comes to qualification for the next World Cup. 2-1 the final score. Serginho Dest with an absolute golazo. We'll be back with more from Columbus in just a moment. The U.S. picking up a big 3 points in Columbus tonight against Costa Rica. Columbus, by the way, the former home of 2-0 of USA versus Mexico. That'll be the next qualifier for this red, white, and blue team. That on November 12th game you can see right here on ESPN. The star of tonight, well, there's probably a few, but few bigger than that man right there. Barcelona's Serginho Dest, who provided the equalizer for the United States in the first half. It was an equalizer, guys, that they desperately needed after falling behind just 59 seconds into this match. The cross comes in from Ronald Matarrita, and Keisher Fuller, Casey, converts.
Well, it was just all over the place from the first minute, and it was frustrating. Zach's got to come out, head a ball, no marking at the far post, player unmarked centrally. Dest leaves him onside by being out of bounds, but so frustrating, but great response.
Jermaine, you know a thing or two about a big game banger goal. How about this from Serginho Dest?
You know, we had this conversation before, and we say like his strength is going forward, trying to be dangerous, get chances to score a goal, you know, and he's doing it perfect.
Penalty here or no?
I don't think so. No,
I said no, right?
I think, look, he doesn't initiate the contact. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't think you don't leave that in the hands of the referee, but in the end, got away with it.
Yeah, some close calls for the United States, especially this one in the second half. Thank goodness Costa Rica started their over 35 teams tonight. Guys just ran out of gas. That should have been a one-on-one.
Yeah, there at the moment, like, you know, to see it, like we can, when we play the ball deep, there you can see Timothy where goes deep run, deep ball. With a little bit of luck, hit the post, goes up the goalkeeper, up to the goal.
Moreta, the sub in for Keylor Navas at the half. Navas would have stopped that.
Yeah, you would have thought so. And we don't know why Navas had to come off at halftime.
But I tell you this, I actually don't care if he's.
No, I don't care either.
You know,
I don't care at all. But
we got the 3 points.
Let's focus in then on not just Serginho Dest, but maybe some of the other key performers tonight. We focused a lot in the pregame show on the midfield. What do you think of those guys, including specifically Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie?
You know, I said it before, I'm a big fan of Tyler Adams, how he works for the team, how he moves and everything. I think Weston, he gets better, and I think he has to, you know, find a little bit more his strengths in his old game. He's still playing good, he's not playing bad, but I think he has way more quality than he's shown right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tyler Adams is such a key component in that number 6 role. And again, he showed that in being able to give the other players the confidence to go forward and attack from those wide positions. Again, Anthony Robinson showing the ability to get forward. I still think it has to be better to service into the box. Too inconsistent. With better service, this game is 3 or 4-1.
We're talking about Tyler Adams. Sam Borden just spoke to him. Let's listen in.
All right, Tyler, to take a hit like you guys did in the first minute and bounce back, what does that say about this team?
Yeah, it says a lot. We've faced a lot of adversity so far throughout this qualifying process. We said coming into this, it's going to be a learning process. We had a little bit of a struggle in Panama a couple days ago, but the good thing about these 3-game windows is you have another opportunity to bounce back. So the team stuck together, dug in, and I was really happy with the performance after the first minute goal.
Serginho's strike, what can you say about that?
Class, man. He's a right footer, comes in on the left side. You see the confidence he has to strike the ball, and yeah, he deserves that. He's been working hard, and yeah, it was good for the team.
This was obviously a window that had, ups and downs and ups. What do you take away from it as you now look forward to Mexico?
Yeah, I think we said coming into this window we were going to take everything game by game, and that's exactly what we did. We didn't look ahead. We didn't dwell on the past. So now going into the next window, we go again on a strong note, and we're going to take it game by game, step by step. So obviously Mexico's a very strong opponent. We're excited to head to Cincinnati and have another home game. So we'll look forward to the crowd, the energy, stick together, and yeah, we'll dig in and try to get 3 points.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Good.
Here then is a look at your live table in CONCACAF. Top 3 go directly to the World Cup, 4th into the Intercontinental Playoff. Canada up right now 3-1 late in the second half against Panama. Jamaica leading 1-0 at the break against Honduras. The U.S. and Mexico, there you can see tied. Mexico kicking off in El Salvador at 10:05 Eastern time. All right, so from the 9 points that were up for grabs this window, the U.S. took 6. Jermaine, good enough?
At the end, it has to be good enough. We said we wish we get like 6 points off the 2 home games, right? And then get maybe a point or a win. So we don't have anything on the road, but we're happy with the 6 points for sure.
Yeah, exactly. We said that you have to win your home games, try to pick up stuff on the road. Minimum 6. We felt that 9 were possible. 7, it was probable. But okay, hey, did what needed to be done first and foremost. And let's be honest, we've got a new home here in Ohio. This is the first time that we've been at this stadium. The crowd was behind it. Could have fallen apart after going a goal down, but once Serginho Dest's goal came in, the crowd was unbelievable.
Well, we got a month to kill.
Yeah, we do.
U.S. and Mexico. That one is going to be for
and we'll see what the other side of the state can do.
Absolutely. Heading down to Cincinnati from Columbus. For U.S. and Mexico, that game will be Friday, November 12th on ESPN2, ESPN Plus, and of course streaming live on the ESPN app. Serginho Dest with an absolute stunner in the first half as the U.S. comes from behind in dramatic fashion to pick up 3 huge points in Columbus, a 2-1 victory over Costa Rica. Coming up next here on ESPN2, it's NFL Live. Enjoy.